Hello, hello. I'm going to be paying more attention to Twitch, just being honest, but I will flip back and forth. Hope everything sounds good. I tested this earlier so that I could ensure that it would. If it doesn't, we'll work with it. So yeah, I figured I'd show you guys kind of a little glimpse into the creative process. This is the last iteration of the sort of arrangement for Reptile off of Periphery 4 Hail Stan that we kind of put together before we sent it off to Spencer for him to start working on vocals. And I actually worked on on the vocals with Spencer, so he was really involved with this sort of arrangement. Not too much actually changed, but we were just kind of discussing all the parts. It's a very daunting song at 15 minutes. I remember he was very intimidated and overwhelmed. As anyone would be. Even Matt was the same way with the drums, and we were with just playing it live because we're like, this is a lot. How do we bring this together? So what we generally do is we kind of figure out, like all of us would be in a room kind of looking at it. Okay, how does this flow? What makes sense? And there's actually some things. I listened to this earlier. There's like at least one part that like we cut in half right in the beginning because Spencer just decided to jump straight in, and we're like, okay, actually that does sound better. So it's a rolling process at all times. It's a very big project. There's a lot of tracks. It has all my orchestral programming, actually most of which is on the final recording, as you'll hear. We had some live layers kind of thrown in over the top just to add a little bit of realism, but the meat of what you're hearing is actually here. It's not mixed per se, and none of this is really mixed. It's sort of demo setup. But especially this orchestral stuff in the beginning was really just like stream of consciousness sort of writing, so it doesn't necessarily sound as balanced as it does on the final product. But you can sort of hear, and we're not going to listen necessarily to the entire song all the way through, but let's kind of look at it section by section and see what's going on. Does that sound good, guys? Hey, Jake's here. Oh man, I shouldn't mod Jake. That's gonna be bad. But Jake is very well endowed. I feel like I can't go on a stream without mentioning that. So next time that you see Jake or talk to him, and this is why he's making so many references to meat right now, because he's talking about how well endowed he is. A well endowed Italian man. As short as he is, he's making up for it in other areas. Anyways, you get the point. But I guess we should get back to the topic at hand. As much as we could spend about an hour talking about Jake's member, just because there's so much of it. It's truly the reptile of peni. Anyways, all right. Yeah, and he's gonna say it's pathetic and small because he thinks that's funny. He thinks that's like that's such a dumb way to deal with it, Jake. Like to just say the opposite. Anyways. I'm literally getting bored of talking about it, so let's listen right from the beginning. Right? Oh, it works. I think we have sound. You guys can hear that. It's got its own congressperson. That got me good. So I'll just play this intro through and I'll sort of break down what's going on. For those of you who are interested in the orchestral stuff, this might be an interesting thing to watch. right, cool. Yeah, I saw a comment. We might have played it at the summer camp. We definitely played some version of this. It might have even been this version. Really just depends on what sort of iteration this song was in by the time we did the camp. We showed whatever the latest version was. I don't think it had vocals on it, did it? This one, I think this is one of the last ones before we had vocals, because by the time we had vocals, I didn't really mix it in. We're just like, we'll just save that for the final thing. I think we just listened to Spencer's vocals on top of the track, which he set up at his place, and we're like, we'll just, no point in mixing it in twice, you know? Might have just sat it on top somewhere, but this is like sort of that last version, so it's very possible that we showed you guys this. So yeah, there's a whole lot of MIDI going on here. For those guys, for those of you guys who are curious, so like, because I got a lot of questions about what I'm using a little bit of everything. For these strings, I really like LAS. So is that LA Studio scoring strings, LA scoring strings. I just think they sound fantastic. They're very dry, but like, I don't know if we just... Like it sounds very good. I have a bunch of reverb on it, and I think I'm using it's quite a bit. It's not the most intuitive program, but like you have the different sections. So I have the violins. I have the first chair going as well. And I've got violins 2. Then violas. Sorry, I have to get the dynamics up because it's defaulting. I've got them panned the way that you would in an orchestra, so like they go sort of from left to right. I've got the cellos. And then the contrabass, which... yeah, it gives you that low end there. So altogether, this will sound like... I'm doing something that's sort of, I guess, technically correct. I'm just using like the violins and the violas for the legato articulations, and then for the spiccato articulations, I'm using the cello and the contrabass. And I love the attack on LAS. It's such an old library. Like, there's so many more new libraries that have come out, but when it comes to pure attack, it's very hard to beat these. So like, that's where you're getting this rhythm. And the whole point of this is sort of foreshadowing this rhythm that comes back so many times. God, I don't even know where to find it. This, no, where is it? So it's just them interpreting that. That comes back heavy here. So that's what that's doing there. We got horns and stuff here and tuba. Let's see. Using various stuff here. So this is a combination of Spitfire symphonic brass, and actually the horns, I'm using Berlin brass because I actually think these horns are just fantastic sound. Like super majestic sounding, right? I love a good French horn. What do we got here? This might be drums. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. I've never been that good at as much as I pride myself on like knowing how to program real drums. I've never been that good at programming sort of orchestral drums. I'm using the combination of like the Hans Zimmer hits here from Spitfire and Damage. Which is like kind of like a hybrid thing. I think it sounds great. So you combine all this together. This is definitely one of the lesser mixed aspects. A lot of low end there. And this is, I think, where the real drums come in. So I knew I wanted this kind of hybrid thing going on there. It's mixed a lot better on the album. Like, there's way too much low end on this stuff. But it was like, you know, this is just writing, so who cares? Funny enough, for this, I'm using GGD Marin and Massive, but I'm using a pre-release version. And for some reason, it's not loading the graphics right now. So that's just going to remain hidden. It's got something to do with the fact that I probably moved the folder. And like resetting it up with the official version would just be a pain right now. So not going to deal with that, but everything works, so that's what matters. Why am I getting email? I should not be getting emails right now. All right, anyways. So moving right along. Yeah, let's get to the heavy part. What do you guys say? Let's listen to the heavy part. That goes twice in this version. We cut it down. We just felt it was a little long-winded. Kind of funny when we think something's long-winded on a 15-minute long song, am I right? The other thing I'm noticing is that we don't have the counterpoint guitars. I just have it as a bass line that I wrote and kind of pieced together. And then, like, when we actually re-recorded it, we mirrored that so that it would just sound fuller. And it definitely sounds a lot better with that. You guys can see how much, like, when we're writing, everything is just patchwork. We're just filling stuff in. This is a Mark riff. Actually, all of this is Mark, but this is my one contribution, is this. I'm pretty proud of. Like, a lot of Mark's riffs, like, he'll come up with these riffs that are fantastic, and it's kind of my job to, like, turn them into something that will work for a song. So, and he's really good about letting me, like, just mangle his riffs up so that we end up with something useful. But we usually end up with something where it's like we got like 3/4 of a riff and then I just need to kind of finish it off. It just needed a little tag at the end, and we thought it was kind of funny, so we went with that. Mark is so good at these pinches. Like, I can't do these. He can just do them all day long, so we just kind of had fun with that. So we knew that we wanted some sort of release there. It's like a pretty dark thing, right? And we've been doing these riffs. We've been having a bit more fun. We used to do this more back in the day, and I think Spencer always used to struggle with this, but nowadays he's asking for more of this, like where we just kind of throw like some more out there chord changes, not for the sake of it, but just have a little bit of fun with that. And this is one of those ones where he like kind of threw something at us, which I was not expecting. Like, that implies a minor chord, but he goes for a major note there that, you know? And I was like, I remember the first time hearing that, I was like, whoa, this is not what I thought we would have over there. And then, like, the more I listened to it, I was like, that's really cool. That's honestly one of those things that makes Spencer very special. He's always got like a producer's mind about stuff, and he always takes a step back, and he'll hear certain things that, like, I would never in a million years have heard, and that, although it threw me off guard because, you know, with demoitis and all that, like, you're kind of like boxed into what you expected it to sound like. I've definitely gotten better at opening myself up to hearing other ideas on that, and that was one of those examples where I was like, that's so cool. I'm so glad that you went there with that. You know, in a 15-minute long song, what's a chorus? I don't know, but this is definitely like a chorus type part to this section of the song, if you will. Now, this is an interesting thing. I wrote this part because I just wanted something kind of grimy and heavy. We can talk a little bit about guitar tone here. So I think we're just... I think that's just like an Axe FX 3 tone. And it's the 5150 model. And the 5150 model does this thing, which I love, where it just saturates the lows. Like you hear something going like... you know, the other approach is the more like British style, like the Friedman style, was super tight. And when we were retracking, we actually were just retracking with a Friedman model just because I thought I dialed in a cool tone, and it wasn't sounding right. And in the end, I ended up reamping most of the songs with a 5150 model on the Axe FX, just because I wasn't getting that saturation. Like a lot of these parts didn't have the right effect. There's a big sort of debate as to you know, I've had this discussion with Nolly a few times. He thinks that demos shouldn't sound too good, and I get it, because you become so attached to how they sound that it's almost impossible for the final product to sound better. It'll just sound different, and you won't like it as much. We call it demoitis, and it's a very real thing. At the same time, I'm also very aware of the fact that there's certain sections that work sort of as a whole idea with the mix. So like with a different guitar tone, this literally wouldn't have the right effect. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I still haven't really made up my mind where I'm at. I tend to try to make my demos sound better, because I think it's sort of something that you should be listening to as a whole, and not sort of hoping that the mix comes together and saves the part. Like sometimes it really helps get the idea across. And this is one of those examples. You'll see we've got DIs here, like, where I don't know if you realize that that's what you're looking at, but this top track, they're linked so that they edit together, and this is what I can reamp with. Pretty sure I used these takes too, because I was really happy. Like, they're sludgy takes. They are not tight at all, and I really wanted this to be kind of a sludgy section. Anyways, let's look at some comments from you guys before we move on. Yeah, I can see your comments. Yeah, this is a live thing. This is a live thing, but I am on Twitch, where I'm sort of looking at stuff more on Twitch. So, let's see. The output to the stream is hot. Sounds compressed on the viewer end. Is the sound not good, guys? Do I need to back off the volume a little bit? I could do that, if you want. Might just need to bring it down here a little bit. Maybe that'll make it better. Who knows? Let's see if that fixes it. Sounds fine. One guy. Leave it. Okay. Well, you guys should... I don't know what to do. All right, whatever. So, what kind of DI chain do you usually use for DI for guitar and bass? So, really, it's simple. I just use this this J48, this radial J48, and I'll just take the input from there. XLR goes to the interface. Aiming, it's very hard with DIs because they're so dynamic. I'm aiming for -12, so you have some headroom, and that's like when you're really going for it. But then obviously sometimes you won't anticipate for stuff, but you'll never clip. You don't really want that to clip. When you reamp it, you may actually want to like bump up the volume so it is clipping, but you don't want that to be on the way in. It's fine if it sort of clips into the amp that you're reamping to. Might be getting very technical and nerdy. There's also a through, so this is the other thing. This then goes to the Axe FX, so I can actually monitor what I'm hearing. But I like this DI. I'm sure there's better ones. I've heard that there's the Countryman one, which is good. I'll probably upgrade at some point, but hey man, it ain't broke. Let's see. Twitch chat getting neglected. I'm only on the Twitch chat right now. Sorry, I'm just looking at the screen. I'm trying to multitask. I will get better at this. I'm still new to this. I will get better, I promise. have I considered making projects demos available to the people? You know, I've definitely considered that. The one problem is that I'd have to like convert it because I'm using so many plugins and there's so much specific stuff. I'm not really afraid of people getting my settings. I've posted a lot of that stuff and we have tutorials on the GGD site. And generally those are things where I'll have like smash and grab as the only compressor on the mix, or just using like Cubase plugins, and you can literally just copy that stuff. The problem is that I use so many plugins for flavor and just that I like the sound of, that you need to have the exact same setup or you just get very frustrated, be like, I can't open this, you know? So that's kind of the issue with that. Maybe someday, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Let's see. What's Jake saying? Jake is, I believe that's a butt and a butthole. So... are we going to do a P1 remake? Ask Jake. Jake, are we doing a P1 remake? Not a remaster. Hey, can I talk about a pet peeve here? When you guys call it a remaster, you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And I'm sorry if I'm yelling at you, but I am yelling at you. But we're still friends, but you need to be yelled at. Because it's not a remaster. You know what would happen if we did a remaster? You'd get it and be like, why does this sound basically exactly the same? Because mastering is the last step after everything's all been mixed. What you want is either a remix or a re-recording of that, because that would actually make a fundamental difference. And unfortunately, that would take way more time. I wish we could just do a remaster and fix it, because then we just send it off to Ermin, he'll fix it, and then everything's good. But that's not gonna fix it. It's still gonna sound whack. So you don't even just want a remix, because really the best part about doing P1 again would be having Spencer's vocals, because he can sing now, and he couldn't sing on that album. He definitely couldn't scream on that album. And now he's got like this really, really ridiculous voice, and he can have fun with it. And God, it's one of those things where I don't want to get into this like George Lucas mode, because like there's stuff I'd want to toy with, like arrangements. It's like if you get to revisit that stuff, I don't know. But I don't want to like Han Solo McClunky that album, you know? So... we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I like creating new stuff. Anyways, add CGI Java. You know, that's what may happen, unfortunately. Where's Jake? Jake. He stopped trolling. Whatever. All right, we'll take one more good question, and then we're going to look at more of this song. Periphery 7 remake. Well done. Get a look at the bass. So the bass is, you know, I made this patch like forever ago on this like AxeFX 2 that's on some really old firmware. It's based off of a Nolly patch that he made public. I kind of tweaked it. Nolly doesn't love this bass sound. I kind of do. My strings are still like old as hell on my ding walls, and like I don't know, it just works. Like this is still what I'm using to this day for bass. I am like, you know, doing a whole bunch of stuff. Let's see what this bass channel looks like. Let's actually see, because I don't remember. We got Q2. With my bass tone, I find this boost at like 750 just brings that grind out, that, you know. Got R bass just for a little bit of that low end there. And then I think I've got Neve going on here. Yeah, we're killing the top end, getting a little bit of low lift there. And what are we doing? Again, boosting at like 750, a little bit of 200-ish. It's very powerful. This Neve is very, very powerful, so you gotta be kind of careful, like just small moves, you know. But that's the bass there. I think it. And I've got another tone with less gain that I'll switch to. I can't even tell if that's it. Yeah, it is. I think the gate caught it on that. That's really funny. We had Nolly retract the bass. I wrote all the bass parts for the album, and then just sent Nolly the bass tracks, but with everything else. And because he's a musical genius, he just figured out everything by ear and tracked it beautifully. So this is like the best setup ever. Just kind of, I get to write, and then I don't have to worry about it ever again. And then Nolly's tracks are what you're hearing live, so it sounds fantastic. So we got this. We've already heard this. So here we are sort of referencing the theme. This is one of the themes, if you will. I'm a big fan of Motifs. What we got? Ooh, this is a fun patch. So I'll do this sometimes. Contact, I know, is a love or hate thing. I'm definitely more on the love side, and there's certain things you can do, like you can just stack the crap out of stuff. So this is a stack that I made. So it's all just going just straight to just one input here, because everything's on channel 1, right? And it's a combination of Woodchester, which is one of my favorite pianos. I don't even think it's expensive. You guys should all buy it. By Fracture Sounds. It sounds so good. Right? Sound like just instantly fantastic, right? And I've got this, what is this called again? It's like Spitfire North 7 vintage keys. Really like this. It looks like I've got these in different octaves. Sounds great. Probably could have put some, well, whatever. And then this is part of a Spitfire Bernard Herrmann Composer Toolkit. Harp and Celeste. So all together, you get this. I thought that that was a cool way to like reinforce this theme, right? So. And those little trails are coming from this like layer mixer part of the Woodchester piano. So you kind of get sounds that work well together and just layer them. I called it piano and harp. And then this is called string, synthy thing, and I can't spell. That's just Omnisphere. Honestly, everyone who's always asking like, what should I buy? This should be the first thing that you buy. Omnisphere 2 has so many sounds. It's the best bang for buck thing. There's like, you could spend your entire lifetime finding sounds. It sounds great. You really don't need to do much to it. So. Like, that's just a patch. Again, this is less on... You can get sound designy with this stuff, but the patches are what you're after. So the two together kind of play well. And then what do we have here? Got a little riser. And we've got these chords here. So as you can see, I like to go kind of crazy with layers. A little ambient guitar thing in the back. That's the part we're playing live, and then those are on the tracks. So it's nice and full sound. Back to the main theme there, changing up the drums to make it fun, right? What's Reptile's message lyrically and musically? Musically, I don't think about a message. We're just well, I call it following a thread. Like, you're just kind of in the zone, just seeing what happens, seeing where it takes you, and you just trust that. Lyrically, it might have been because the working title was Erectile Dysfunction, and Spencer, I think, wanted to write about reptilian overlords getting taken down by a dude named Billy Badass, and that's basically, he's like a stoner named Billy Badass, and he takes down the reptilian overlords. So there you go. That's the story of Reptile. We write about super serious stuff. I have a question I've been trying to ask you guys for ages. I asked Matt, but he didn't know. So ask. Let's see. When will we hear Not Enough Mana into an official Periphery song? You know what's interesting is we tried to make that work. Spencer wrote really awesome vocals for the second half of that song. We just could never get the first half to kind of be right. It was supposed to be on Periphery 1. It just fell a little short. And it was a cool song. You know, I'm really proud of parts of that song, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe someday. We'll see. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Yeah, Jake. Yeah, Jakey. That's right. You better be drinking. Let's see. Jake's having us pick the riffs from your riff library and using them in your next album. I mean, maybe. I've thought about showing you guys some of the demo stuff, or even writing on stream. I've actually done some writing on stream, but it was like at 4 a.m. when I tend to write my stuff. You know. 5150 settings, please. I need to copy. I mean, like, it's super easy. Just boost with a precision drive. Right? Well, that is literally the best way to boost the 5150. And then have the gain around like 3 or 4. Then the EQ 646. And then the presence kind of doesn't do anything up until you're like 8 or 9. And like, just keep that lower, and then just crank the depth or the resonance or whatever it's called on that amp, and you're good to go. You're good. Satellites, there's a coolest impact bass sound. It's the same thing that we use. I think it's some Vengeance sample. It's like Impact 37 or something like that. It's the one I always just use that. And I've got this Joey Sturgis sub drop that I use for every sub drop. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. I reversed into both. So, what is this? What's it called? V-Dub Impact 37. There you go. It works, you know? Does a good job. Got some little glitchy chops there, which we recreated live. Oh, and I added this. Okay, so we must have demoed some vocals, or at least had that chorus, because I wrote a choir choin part for this. Why do we have 2 lanes of this? Have some fun with that. Oh, I know what library this is. So this is kind of funny. Orchestral Tools has this library called Arc 1, Metropolis Arc 1, and it just happens to have this really sick, it's like super basic, but really sick choir that I think just sounds fantastic. And it's kind of lightweight, so I usually just reach for that. Even though I have a bunch of Choin libraries, that's my favorite Choin library. So, in context. If you're perceptive, you'll see I messed up the rhythm on some of the parts, but don't worry, I fixed it in the final thing, so we're all good. All right. Oh yeah, this is a fun part. This is another part I definitely had to reamp, just because like I felt like I got the vibe just right on this. So, this is obviously a variation on that first time, and I wanted it to be super dirty, so I'm pretty sure that this has a pitch block that's just like a half step off. Which choirs are those? Okay, did I just see that before I answered it? Or did I answer it? I answered it. Anyways, this has like, yeah, like a pitch block. This is a good way to just make things sound super messy. I probably upped the gain on it. And we're doing quad tracks. Yeah, you can hear that. Yeah, so all together. And I really like playing that part live. That's a really fun part. It's just super oaf meathead, and it's like not that hard to play, and you could just go, and the crowd just goes off for that part. It's kind of sick. That's like one of those parts where I was like really hoping that's what would happen, and it happened. So that's super satisfying. And now we're back to that rhythmic theme from the beginning. And I mean, this is basically the intro of the song, but sort of recreated as like traditional instruments, if you think about it. So this, I think, is... I know exactly what this is. So I ran my sub 37. I love to run my synths through pedals. I don't have it here. Yes, I do. It's a Maris Auto Bit. It's on my pedal board, so pull it out. Oh, it's all plugged in. Whatever. I don't want to have to repatch that. It's a Maris Auto Bit. You guys can find it, and it makes it all glitch 2.0. Very good. Bit crush this fucked. It does both of those, and I like the vibe. I just want something kind of. It's just in the background, making its noise. And then we got build up here. The whole point of this part is it's supposed to build off this theme into like a super heavy version of it, right? So slowly just... I've been trying to take my time with these parts. I feel like one of my biggest criticisms of my writing in the past was I just kind of want to get right into it. So this time we really like stretched it out, you know, like if you consider it's from here, what is that, 556 to... Yeah, it's about a minute of build up on this section, which I'm really happy about. And live, it really... That I think is something that makes it really hit a lot harder. I find that when we do actually allow these sections to breathe and build up, it kind of has way more impact. So back to that motif. Which I was really happy. It's like this really sort of mysterious dark motif. We got cool chords like that going on. What do we got here? Oh, a prophet. Which is a weird chord to put in here, but I love the way that sounds against the, I don't know theory, but the duh, which I guess is what, a G, right? That would be a G, because that's the open note. And then whatever this chord is, which sounds like the root note is duh, but against the G sounds like a really messed up chord, which I like. Duh. And that's kind of a fun. Yeah, let's listen to just the layers. Just the layers. And this is a fun trick. This is something I've been doing a lot more of lately. Like, so one of my biggest goals with recording guitars is trying to get the guitars and the bass to sort of just sound like one big instrument. And you know, Nolly and I call it binding. Like, how well do they bind together? There's all sorts of tricks. Like, one of the ways that Nolly describes is like the guitar should be panned up here, and then like the bass should be down here, and it just should look like a big V, you know? I mean, we have all these ways of describing these weird abstractions that we're trying to achieve. But one of the tricks that I think really helps the two bind together is you quad track, but you quad track with two of the guitars on like the second position. And like, well, I call it second position, but like on my guitar, let's see, I just happen to have one on the floor, of course. So like you know, normally you're tracking everything on bridge position, but I have it set up on my guitar, so this is like the split inner coils. It's like the Petrucci sound, you know, the middle position on a Petrucci guitar, which I absolutely love. I generally use that for cleans, but I found that like on distorted guitars, you get that like really just scooped, awesome sound. It makes the guitar like have like a lower timbre as well. Like it sounds like you're tuned lower than you are. As a main sound, it's very sort of specific, and you're getting less gain because you're splitting these coils here. It just doesn't have as much gain or saturation as it would on the bridge. But then what you do is just mix them together. So I have 2 takes on the bridge pickup and 2 takes. That's that split coil setup, and then this is and I can't tell if that has octave on it. Sometimes I'll put octave because that also helps it bind, but sometimes it can be a bit much with the bass. But this is interesting. I was too lazy to like figure that out on guitar, so I didn't even track it. But I remembered that like I'd want to do that, and obviously we did it for the final thing. So this is like taking that same rhythm and basically assigning it notes. So it's like now a 4-chord progression. It's kind of an interesting progression. And then taking that motif that's on top and sort of coming up with notes that will fit it, which is why I didn't even bother doing it on guitar, because I just composed it with the piano and the harp. And then what's super handy, you can see like I've got the MIDI. Like once you have the MIDI program, you can just drop it onto another track. I like to take and I saw a question about 4 seconds ago. We did a lot of this on the 4 seconds ago stuff, mine and Jake's electronic project, where we take the MIDI, we have it go out to a synthesizer, you know, a hardware synth, and then that would get fed back in. It sort of locks in a take. So like there's not much you can do with this. You know, this is just audio here. It's been captured from there. I've muted that. You can add delay and whatever, but the take's the take. And if you're messing around with the knobs or whatever, you know, that gets captured. But you could just move that around. So all together, now we have a variation on that last section. This is how you get mileage out of your riffs. You know, you just like, okay, let's do a variation. Let's throw some chords in there, keep the rhythm, change the motif accordingly, and you get. You know, so on and so forth. Back to, we love motifs so much, so back to that whole section again. We're just trying to, you know, bang it into your head. And then this is like sort of like that first section of the song. I bet no one heard this on the original. It's like much louder on the demo. I just threw a few of these in there. Anyways. That's the first part of the song. Let's look at some questions. I've been ignoring you guys on Twitch, and here I'm gonna look at YouTube for 1 second and pick one thing. I am the guy who teached you some swear words in French at Montreal. Just wanted to tell you that you're cute. Sweet. Thank you on all counts. I like learning swear words. That's all the. What do we know? We know tabarnak. We know Chris and saboire, and that's all I know. And those are just for Montreal people. That's not even French. How do I make Jake a mod? You know what? I have. And I have notes. You know what? I also have to do something. Sorry, I'm like learning how to do this. So there's something that I've messed up on because I didn't realize that we had. Come on, where are you? We had people donating, and I have to thank you guys. That's really... Oh, look at that. So where is it? Recent events. Recent events. There we go. So AGS 4NO. $20. Damn. Besides the fluoride and shit. Thank you for your donations, guys. Ollie Wheeler. How often do you retune guitars and change strings while tracking? Man, that is a fantastic question. So we actually started using, I have it on this guitar here. We have Evertunes installed. I have such mixed feelings about these because they do make your guitar sound a little worse. But oh my God, it saves you so much time in the studio. Literally half the time. Anyone here who has recorded knows how much time you spend tuning, especially if you're like very sensitive to that kind of stuff like we are. So yeah, it's a huge time saver. Sometimes it's like, oh, it sounds good enough and it's in tune. It's better for it to not be like 100% of the tone and to be like way more in tune than vice versa. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing. Changing strings is less of an issue. I'd say we're very fortunate. I don't have acidic sweat. Jake and Mark don't really have acidic sweat. I know some people that like their sweat is so acidic that like if they play guitar for like 30 minutes, the string's already dead. So it really just depends on the person, because we're just sort of listening. If it sounds dull, then we're changing strings. But generally, at least like once per song, you know? In the case of Reptile, maybe we change it once in between just because it's long. Frozen Solid donated and said, you guys like to add things such as electronic or orchestral music elements. How do you decide what cross-genre elements you want to add? Is there a process or is it trial and error? So I'll tell you, like, that's a great question. This is why I have so many toys here. You're just in the moment. You remember what I said about following a thread? You really want to just kind of think like, okay, like you'll get stuck. It's like, what could we do? There's a bunch of tools that we have at our disposal. We have synths. We have motifs that we can make variations on. We're thinking about where we want to go next. But even a part like this, I think we were just like playing around with some stuff on a clean channel. Jake had the idea, and it's like, man, that's great. That's exactly where it should go. It's a change of mood. And it's definitely the next sort of section of the song, but it still has the same vibe, like it belongs in the song. And this is where we'll start to fill it out with synths and with effects and stuff like that. I don't need to hold this anymore. Let's see. Thanks for your donations, guys. That's really nice of you. 00Gent00. Man, what a name. Thanks for a donation, though. Thank you so much for putting out music like this for us, man. Hey, it's our pleasure, dude. We're literally just doing this for fun. Like this is just fun for us, and writing with the guys is like one of my favorite things to do. We would be doing it right now if it wasn't for this stupid quarantine. And I know you can do online stuff, but it's just not the same as like doing it in person, having a vibe, and like just getting lost in the process. Ciara J donated. Oh, thank you very much. And Finesse Greg donated, but didn't need to donate. He's modding, so everyone say hi to Finesse Greg and thank him for his hard work. Also, can you make Jake a mod, Greg? Can you make Jake a mod? All right, let's go to the comments. Periphery is not a business. They do this for fun. Well, no, we are a business. We're just not one that necessarily makes money. Don't mod Jake. Oh, man. Oh, you can't. Can I mod Jake? Only the streamer. Okay. Teach me how to make him. I'm still new to this. How do I make Jake a mod? What do I do? Mod view? Oh, okay. Easy. Don't make me regret this. Oh boy. Should I, guys? Should I? Oh. This stream should be saved. I'm also streaming it to YouTube. And it'll be saved in, I think, a slightly better quality there. So you can watch it in either spot. Ban Jake. Oh, and that's how you ban. Okay, great. So it's very, very straightforward. All right, Jake. Do your thing, I suppose. Where is the Horizon Echo pedal? That's also a great question. Obviously, with all the craziness that's going on in the world, it's slowed down the process. There's a couple little tweaks that we needed to make, and just everything just takes like 3 times longer now. But knock on wood, man, don't quote me on this, but knock on wood, within a month, if everything goes to plan. If it doesn't, maybe a little bit longer, but we're really just waiting on things that are out of our control right now, unfortunately. I hope that makes sense. I honestly have been using that pedal more than any other of our pedals. It's one that you can kind of get lost in, and it sounds great on everything. So I'm really excited for you guys to get your hands on it. I think you'll like it, and I'm really bummed that we don't have it out for you yet. But, you know, there's only so much in life that you can control. And speaking of control, I gave Jake the power. He's got a sword. Jake, use it wisely. I can't even imagine not using D'Addario strings. Imagine not using Horizon strings. That's the move now, man. That's what I've got on everything here. There we go. Yeah, Horizon Devices strings, progressive tension. They sound great, they feel great, and they're designed for lower tunings. This is the Heavy 7 set. This is what I use live. I use it for recording in the studio. Obsessed over the string gauges with Brian Gilmanov, one of the owners at Horizon Devices. This is the problem when you get nerds together, is just we obsess over things. I think we absolutely nailed, especially if you're in like A flat or around there, drop A flat on a 7. Like, this is about as perfect as strings get for that. We send them to Jake, we send them to Mark. Jake likes them. Mod Jake can tell you all about it. Let's see. What do we got? Periphery rituals when recording a new album. Required video games. So one of the things when we're on the writing side of things, we try to just have a good time. And I know that this maybe it sounds like a bit of a cop-out answer, but truly, like, you start out with so much steam and so much excitement, and we've had this happen where you just run out because like you're pulling like 15-hour days and you're just going, and then you're burnt out, and the last thing you want to do is sit in front of a computer or do anything. So we try to not force it. We're there. The way I frame it in my mind is I'm there to have fun and hang out with my friends. And somehow, I think just because we're musically creative and because we're itching to write, an album happens. You know, that's how the 4 Seconds Ago album happened. That's how the Haunted Shores album happened. Like, all these things are almost the byproduct of us hanging out and having a good time. So we are playing video games. We're taking breaks whenever we, you know, if we hit something, we're just like, I got nothing. Just take a break. Go play some video games. I think we were playing a lot of Mario Party, which we had to stop because we started hating each other so much. Because that game is one of the most frustrating things. It makes like Mario Kart seem like not that big a deal. So yeah, I'm sure any one of you guys who plays Mario Party understands the frustration. Making mad fucked up jokes. Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that just happens. I feel like I'm pretty wholesome, and then all it takes is just being around the guys for like 5 minutes and we turn into the worst people making the worst jokes, and it's great. Let's see. Feel like you're in the presence of greatness. That's a very big paragraph. I don't want to read all that, but I'm not. I'm just a dude. I still just am a dude making music in my bedroom. Just have people watching, which I don't understand why or how, but you know, that's sick. How many people we got watching actually on I can't see the number. I don't know why. You know, but let's see. Is Mark ever coming back? Mark never went anywhere. He's always been here. Of course. Okay. Hey, that's a good number. 759. Hell yeah. Thanks for that's sick. You guys rule. Yes. How many people we got on YouTube? So we got 333 on YouTube. So we got like 1,000 overall. You guys is crazy. This is awesome. I'll do it more since you guys seem to like it. We could go over other songs and other stuff. Ili at 3 a.m. Oh, grazie ragazzi. Or ragazzo, because there's only one of you. But I'm sure there's other people. Anyways. What's the pedal you'd like to develop next? We're working on a few things. I probably shouldn't say too much, but we're working on a compressor. Like, compressor pedals have been these kind of touchy things, but I think I have an idea. And we're working on it, but it has to be right. So that might not be. We're not going to release it if it's not right. You know, there's no point. Yeah, channeling my inner Seb Vettel. I hope I don't fucking spin out on every corner of this stream. You know what I mean? Yeah. 4-time world champion. Can't hate. He's in a slump. You know. All right. So What do I think of the new Nick Mystery song? I actually have been a terrible friend and I haven't listened to it yet, but I love Nick Mystery and I guarantee you I'm gonna love it because it's like that music makes me feel like I'm just taking a warm bath, you know? It puts me in a good place. Okay, how about I will get back to the questions. I promise. I just have to like kind of turn my attention away, but let's move on to this next section of the song. So this is actually a Jake riff here. You can tell that this riff has a slightly larger penis than usual. And one of the things I like to do when we have these clean riffs, right, is, so we got this here. I think Jake was just jamming on my pedal board setup and we're like, oh, that's a good one. Just vibes, right? So it's based on that sort of motif and then there's movement here. And in true Jake fashion, the riff is sick and it's a huge pain in the ass to play and I have to try very hard not to fuck it up live. This is literally the most stressful section for me live, Jake, and I've fucked it up more times than I'd like to count. Sorry about that, pal. Sorry. But you know what I'm saying. And one of the things I like to do is I like to double that up with piano. Piano you got here? What are we using? An old staple. So I love Piano in Blue. It's actually a really simple piano. It's not very big. I don't think it's sampled in incredible detail, but you know what? This is just one of those libraries that it's Cinesamples. I highly recommend it. It's very cheap. It's one of those examples of you don't need specs, you know, like to make a great product, because this spec wise doesn't look very impressive, but I think just has a great vibe. I abused this all over Periphery 3, so everything, all the piano you heard on that was very pretty. So you layer that and you just double whatever notes Jake is playing. That's the rule of life. And for he does 3 of the same. On guitar, you can do that a lot, where like you'll have the same note on different strings. So I just went for the octave. I do think it sounds good though. Know that this was gonna be like this spoken word section. You know, we got Mikey from Sick to do that and it was really sick. I'm not gonna make that joke. Anyways, I love Sick. And Mikey's just got one of those super crazy cinematic voices. And he does a lot of voices. He does a lot of voice acting as well. So we heard him, we're like, that is sick. You know, and Spencer wrote the lines that he had to say and we sort of just chopped it up and made it work. We've never done anything quite like that, and now I can't even imagine this section without it, you know. At the time we were just going for vibes, and normally I would do like a guitars or a lead thing here, but I figured use synths. And oh man, Korg mini log, where is it? Somewhere, whatever. This thing probably costs like $400 or $500, and it's like it's an analog synth, four voices. I remember when it came out, it was sold out everywhere because everyone's like, how can you make a synth that has those features and costs so little? You know, the construction's maybe not, it's a lightweight synth, but hey man, it sounds fantastic. So then we've got the sub 37 doubling that. Sounds like it's got an octave. Ooh. I know what this has on it too. I've got this wild pedal. I honestly don't know entirely how to use it. What is it called? God, where is it? It's a wild pedal. Anyways, I have to remember what it's called. Do I even have it here? Yeah, there it is. There it is, actually. It's Infinite Jets. Yeah. The Infinite Jets pedal. I don't understand how it works. Infinite Jets. And it just makes weird delay loop things happen. And I just threw that on there. It's like kind of extending the note there in a weird way. And it's just sick. Again, I'm always plugging my synths into pedals. So the Moog Sub 37, which I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see. It's like right there. That's a staple of everything. So we put that all together. You get that. So I hear this with just the layers. I think we used my Telecaster for this. Oh, not tight. But you can never tell in the mix, right? That stuff that was all fixed for the final thing. Oh, this is actually kind of interesting. So this actually used to go straight from that to there. Spencer will take the songs and he'll sometimes just chop up parts. And I remember he did this. He literally just copy pasted this part and we ended up recreating the project, but like just copy paste and put vocals over it. I was like, that's so weird. But then when I heard it with the vocals and kind of got used to it, I was like, that's really cool. He does that a lot actually, and there've been a lot of really cool parts that have happened like way after the fact. I never would have done that. It's even got the lead like kind of reappearing over it out of nowhere, and we massaged that so that works a little better on the final thing. But like that's a good little example of Spencer just kind of messing with stuff in a really cool way. I'm pretty proud of this section, both in like in the instrumental way and like I think I helped Spencer write the vocals for this part. Like we bounce the ideas off of each other. Like our demos are hilarious. They're basically us singing to a microphone like this falsetto gibberish because like I know he'll figure out I can't write lyrics to save my life. And whisper screaming if there's any. So like those, he's shown, I think we showed people at the camp like what that sounds like. It sounds hilarious. It's really bad. But then you kind of just trust that Spencer will actually deliver it well, which he does. So then it's fine. And that's how we bounce ideas off each other when we're writing the vocals. I called this the ocean size section because it sounds like ocean size to me. It's like the kind of stuff they would do, I think. Especially that turnaround there is like peak ocean size for me. They would always do these like really cool chord progressions and kind of ground it with like a nice vocal line. Tricks you into thinking it's not as complex as it is. Doubling that with this string. This is like, I think, just a string octave. Yeah, from Metropolis Arc 1. You know, it's like one of those just quick, you need a quick string sound. It just works for that. I wouldn't use that on its own or like a more exposed section, but it works really well here. Oh, and this is interesting too. Here it was like, I just want a heavy oaf riff. Like I think I just improvised something, and that's why it's so simple and dumb. But it's like, this kind of works. It's like, that's the goal there, right? But here's the trick, is it just repeats 4 times. If you guys know this part on the final version, like it actually changes. It's actually a non-repeating riff. Each sort of repeat is unique. And that was something that, like, after the fact, I was like, man, like, I just, like, it's almost too simple. I just wanted to have a little bit more movement in there. But the drums didn't need to change for that, so I just sort of rewrote that on the final version as we were tracking. And that happens, you know, you will write, tweak stuff at the last minute when you're actually just in the recording phase. Here you can see, like, all the edits going on for this part. We brought back the Focus Hour. It's a super old demo of mine. We got some synthy stuff going on here. I think just a Nexus patch. Nexus is just like one of those things, just like you want finished patches, get Nexus. And I think this is a Serum. It says Omnisphere, but I'm pretty sure this is Serum. If you need a software synth and you don't have Serum, you know, you're messing up, because this is the way to go. The way to go before used to be Massive, but like Serum is just one of those things. And this, I'm pretty sure, is just a preset that I found, where it's using like the LFOs to like create this movement here. And then it's got like Portamento, so you could just, you know, you could do like wild stuff. I was like, that's kind of a cool layer. And then it looks like I was just doing some volume automation at the end, just to get that like little choppiness there. Got our impact here. So here we've just got the Focus Hour rhythm, but just, you know, played not tight. Like, what was that? Legato, I guess, is how you describe that. It's the same rhythm, right? So it's now big and open. We knew this part would be heavy. And again, because we're such motif freaks. So before it was dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I can't sing, sorry, but it's, you know, it's like a triplet, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1, you know. But now we're in 4/4, so you stretch it out, so it becomes. Yeah, so on and so forth. And this was actually intended to have a solo over it, and I knew I didn't want to do. I really hate writing solos, and Mark was like, I'll do it. And then just one day he had a solo, and it's like, dude, that's sick. Fuck you, you know? But that's how it works sometimes. Anyways, before we move to the next section, let's look at a few more peoples here. All right. Oh, we got some more donations. How do I separate by donations? I don't know. Anyways, we can say thank you to everyone here real quick. So NW20 says, "Hey Misha, been loving you since P1. Hell yeah, OG, and thanks for the donation. Gone to 7s from you guys, 7 strings. Please keep up the great work. Can't wait to see you for the 9th time. Jesus Christ. Hey, thanks for the support, dude. That's insane. It's crazy to have like these super dedicated fans. I guess we've been around for a while now. It doesn't feel like it, right? But like, I guess you could have seen us 9 times. Almost surprised we played anywhere 9 times. Anyways, thanks for your support, dude. Delta donated. Hey, Misha, what are your tips on getting that video gamey sound in a metal song? Like the kind of vibe, not enough mana, Frog and Bullfish, have a blast. Are you talking about kind of the tonality? Because if you are, that is just my obsession with Nobuo. If you guys know who that is, Nobuo Uematsu from the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy VII influenced me in like such an insane way musically. I mean, obviously it's like one of my favorite games. I'm obviously playing the remake, and really enjoying it, and like really enjoying these orchestral renditions and reinterpretations of the songs, and like Nobuo's sense of melody is one of those things that just blows me away. Like, and you know, my obsession with motifs and like all that kind of stuff, it all comes from that, because, you know, in video games, you'll go to a different section, you'll hear like a variation on a theme, or you'll hear like the main theme of the song integrated in like a dark way because you're in like this, like near the boss or something like that, or like a darker place, or like a more upbeat way. And I was always like, that's so awesome, you know? And there's bands like Dream Theater and Devin Townsend that do a lot of that kind of stuff. or the Deer Hunter, you know, and all of that stuff just tickles my brain the right way. So like that's a musically, whenever you're hearing that stuff, it's probably me just literally ripping off Nobuo. Like that's just the basic answer right there. Yeah, let's see. Sidalok, thanks for the donation, man. You guys make such awesome music. Never to stop doing what you guys do. Here are some questions from a stupid beginner. I've got $800 and I want to start doing orchestral synth stuff. What should I get? Okay, good question. Right off the bat, I would say either Audio Imperia, Jaeger, or Nucleus. Now, Nucleus is a good start. That's my buddy Jan's company, and it's a really great library. Let me see if I've got it loaded up. I don't have it loaded up because it didn't exist at the time. Is it on this computer? It might not be on this computer. It might be on my laptop. I don't have installed it here yet. And the other one I would tell you is, where is it? Albion 1. This is what got me into orchestral stuff. This just has everything. It's made by Spitfire. It's a broad brush stroke approach, so you're not going to get like super detailed sections, but you got, you know, your brass, low, mid, high strings, and you get some legato patches, which are great. If this kind of covers the ground that you want, or it may just cover the ground that you want and then some, and if you feel like you want more detail, then you can like kind of delve in and go even more crazy with it. But this was my jumping off point. I was like, I think it's like $400, $400 or $500. I mean, it's not cheap, but you are getting a lot, and this is a great place to jump off. Another library that kind of exists in that same realm would be Metropolis Arc 1, I would say, which is very loud, and that has a really cool choir in it. So if you care more about choir, maybe start with this. This one, Albion 1, has more like synthy and droney stuff, which is kind of cool too. But that's what I started with, and then you'll either feel like, oh, that's enough, or I need to go way deep into this, and then you can go down the rabbit hole, and you see all the crazy libraries I've got. And even this isn't everything, because I don't have everything necessarily installed here. So yeah, I hope that answers that. Mr. Person, good name. Thanks for the donation. We got to hear a demo of Tiger on the Huracan cruise. Does that mean that's coming as an official release anytime soon? I was kind of messing with it, and I wanted to see, you know, Spencer and Matt keep coming to me being like, yo, we should do Tiger, and I think that song's kind of dated. I slowed it down just to see how it would sound. Matt hates it when I slow stuff down, but I've gotten in this mood where I feel like slowed down stuff kind of works better live. If Spencer puts vocals to it, to what I've got, and it's starting to vibe, then maybe it'll be like a Periphery song. It'd be kind of a chaotic one. Like, that's one I worry might not quite hit the way it should live. But I've always thought there was potential. Like, trying to relearn some of those riffs, I'm like, man, I don't know what was going on in my head, because I definitely don't write like that anymore. But it's pretty cool stuff. Craig, thanks for the donation. Was this recorded in drop G on a 6-string? Also, do you feel like an Apex precision drive in front of my decent clean amp would sound good? Okay. So yes, this is GGCF-AD. So it's our CGCF-AD tuning, just dropped the lower string down to a G. You get an octave. Sixth use a very similar tuning up a half step. And I think that was like the first time I was aware was when I was trying to learn some sixth songs. I never actually wrote in this tuning. It was Mark who came to us with a bunch of riffs in this tuning. And we're like, let's go for it, man. G sounds heavy, you know? And just the ideas started flowing. Apex and precision drive in front of a decent clean amp. Honestly, if you have a good clean amp, all you need is an Apex. You don't need the precision drive. Precision drive is if you're trying to boost an already high gain amp that sounds kind of flubby, like in lower tunings, like 5150, a Mesa, like they love precision drives. These are more traditional high gain amps, like just will instantly sound metal. But like an Apex will give you that sound in front of a clean channel just instantly. Let's see. Take a few more of these. McBetty's, thank you for the donation, man. Hey Misha, thanks for coming to Canada last year. My selfie pic with Jake and a blurry Spencer is one of my best musical memories. Hope to see you in concert again. Us too, man. It might be a while before we're playing live shows because this. But what are you gonna do, man? The second that we can go back out on the road safely, and you know, you guys can go to shows safely, I think at that point, like, will be sort of making up for lost time, as it were. And well, I don't know where in Canada you were, but like if you're in Toronto or Montreal, I mean those shows go off. Like Canada doesn't fuck around. So yeah, let's see. We'll take a couple more, and then we'll get back to the song. Chili, thanks for the donation. I remember when my dad came out of the garage one day talking about Bulb when he was trying to figure out his Line 6 pod pedal back in the day. Been loving the music ever since. Much love. Oh, thanks, man. And Elite Bacon donated. Let's see. Is that a question or is just seeing us 3 times last year, listening to us for 400 hours? You're crazy. Oh, thanks for the support, man. Okay, so your neighborhood pizza guy says, "Hey, Misha, was wondering if you could go over how you got the guitar tone, maybe some of the orchestral plugins." So I actually did go over that. The guitar tone is all Axe-Fx 3. For the album, we ended up using like a prototype version of our Zilla cab so that I wouldn't be locked into a cab. So we were actually going without cab from Axe-Fx on the reamp, and then when I gave it to Nolly, we could just dial in the cab sound, as we were mixing. That's a really useful, handy way to do it. So we kind of did both steps where we take DI's reamp, and also it's just about creating as much flexibility as possible. On the orchestral side, I've gone over a lot of the plugins. I'll continue to go over what we're using, but as I said, like if you want a good starting point, like Audio Imperia Nucleus and Spitfire Albion 1, very, very good starting points if you want to kind of dip your feet into that stuff. All right, let's move on. We'll get more of these, but let's move on to everyone else here. This is a good section. So here, this is a good section to talk about the orchestral stuff. This section, I think, is actually pretty much how you're hearing it on the final recording. Unfortunately, the recordings that we got from this were like weirdly out of tune, and we had to either keep them low or not even put them in. So this is a good example of sort of how to get it to sound somewhat realistic. Now, this is a section that Jake wrote, and he, again, just came at us with this riff, the... And then we have tracks here just holding it down. Just treating it like a 4-chord progression. And we recorded that and we're like, that's really cool. And I was like, it might be kind of cool to put some orchestral elements. So I wrote this part here. We're using just the legato articulations here, and that's kind of how these libraries work, especially the more detailed ones. You have different articulations, and I'm loading them up this way. There's a few ways to skin this cat, but this is how I'm doing it. So you can see what's going on here. So that right there led me to being like, okay, well, that sounds kind of cool. What if we kind of add to that? So we have these spiccato articulations. This is a cool little trick, actually, for all you orchestral guys, because sometimes I'm not going for hyper realism here. I'm going like more like I just want this to sound good, and sometimes you do little tricks to make it sound more real. So the problem with some of these legato articulations is the attack isn't always quite as defined as I'd like, and you only have so much control over that on legato articulation, so I'll actually stack it with a spiccato articulation. Now, spiccato is a very tight attack, right? But but it gives you that kind of attack to the beginning of those notes. I only did it on the violins there, you know, since they're playing the melody. And then just filling it out with, looks like... Yep, there we go. Just tuba, trombone, and then the whole thing. Right? And then on the second section, I wanted to add some stuff in. So we've got drums here. We've got the contrabass coming in to really like fill out the low end there, right? Got viola. And the other thing that I did here is now I switched this to this sort of melody line that goes over the top. So it'd be almost as if you're splitting the violin section. Again, you 100% could do it. It will sound half as full as this, but who's counting? And then here, I think... So this is something I like to do sometimes to get a little bit more movement. So I'm actually like creating some other layers here that aren't following. So we've obviously got, right, the melody that we're accustomed to. And then these now are switching. Just doing this counterpoint line. Just to create a little bit of movement, right? And that on its own sounds weird, but then when you have it up against like the root notes. And then when you have the melody going up top. So here's the thing that's kind of interesting, and this is kind of why I like orchestral stuff. One of my biggest mistakes I used to make back in the day was like just crowding sections. When you have infinite tracks and all these things, you could just crowd sections. But when you have really similar sounds or like a limited palette of sounds, like just guitars, distorted and clean, it's so easy to just kind of have way too many layers, and then you find yourself struggling to hear any one of them and whatever, right? For whatever reason with an orchestra, whether it's the sounds that are good and they're all different and they all sort of occupy different spaces and have different timbres, you can kind of get away with a lot of layering, and it's allowing me to like have a bit more fun with that without sounding super crowded. I mean, maybe this is arguably a bit too much stuff, but I still think it sounded good. You know, and obviously I'm doing most of this stuff in the exposed section. When it all comes in again, then we're going back to the meat and bones, the meat of this rather. And you can see I was even toying around with bringing that idea back. Let's see what that sounds like. And it doesn't sound bad, but I've also got these like post-rocky leads going on here. And it's just like with all of that, it's a bit much because I was like, there's gonna be vocals on this part. This is obviously a very, you know, sort of prime vocal part for Spencer. And he ended up like using a motif from Garden in the Bones on this one, which is great, and it's a sort of a callback moment. We love to play with that stuff. So this part shouldn't be that crowded. These are the things you have to think about when you are working with a vocalist. All right, we'll look at a few more questions and then we'll tackle this whole ending of the song. Let's see. Ooh. Oh man, we got a lot of people. Let's see who Kayan Hausman Live. I don't know how to say your name, but I recognize it. I see you on. You're sick, and you have my guitars, and your mixes and your stuff is really sick. Great fucking job, dude. Thanks for all this insight, dude. When the coronavirus is over, please do Australia. Oh, you're Australian. Sick. No wonder you're sick, dude. Australia meet and greet so you can sign my USA jug. Oh, and there we go. Absolutely, man. I fucking love Australia, by the way. It's like everyone's like a miniature Danny Rick. Am I right? That is a reference that like 5 of you guys will understand, but I mean it. Let's see. Swaylist, thanks for the donation. So in Seattle last September, thanks for not forgetting about us Northerners. We have really good shows in Seattle. And where are we playing? Like the Showbox? That area is awesome because you could just walk around to a million different things. It's great. Now that Mick Gordon is done writing music for the Doom games, you can lend your synthy metal tunes for the next id Software game. I would love to. I've always wanted to write for video games. I've sort of dabbled in that. I'm going to give you a very honest answer here. Like, I wouldn't want to poach any job from Mick Gordon, even if there's a potential that's just like a little spat and they get back together. Because, dude, that guy defined the Doom games. I've heard the Doom games as like, like a video game that comes with the new Mick Gordon album, and that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, holy shit, that dude just, he's a talent. That guy is an immense talent. I respect him. I met him one time. He's a super nice guy. He's an Australian dude as well, obviously. That guy is just, he's got his own sound. I almost pity whoever has to fill those shoes because they will not be able to do a good job, and myself included. I don't know that I could deliver what he does. I'd love to write for games in general, and it's kind of the thing that I've sort of learned, that if you're going to do that, you have to throw your whole ass into it. It has to be like what you're going to do, in the same way that I've done that with Periphery or like the businesses. It's like, it's not something that you can sort of do half-assedly, unless you don't mind getting these like little gigs thrown at you, like I've been lucky enough to get. And I haven't done any of those recently just because they haven't fallen in my lap. If someone wants to hit me up to score their game, I'm totally down. I have nothing but time now, apparently. But, you know, that's the way that sort of relationship works. So, knock on wood, right? But yeah, thanks for the question. Serge, thanks for a donation. I apparently bought your orange 7-string Aristides on Reverb. How come I can't play like you? Maybe I got ripped off. Yeah. You may want to just check the I don't know. I got nothing good for you. Yeah, I mean, that's a great guitar. I use that one. I use that one live quite a bit. And the Aristides dudes make some really cool guitars. They're kind of heavy. I noticed that live, like they're kind of heavy, just their material, but they're extremely consistent guitars. Like I've found, maybe it's just the way they manufacture them. Like it's like they have their own sound for sure. But if you love that sound, that's like the most consistent way to get it. And the fit and finish of those instruments is fantastic. So really do hope you enjoy that guitar. And don't worry about playing like me. Play like yourself. There are way, way better guitarists to aspire to. I'm just a klepto. Donated. Well, isn't that ironic? Thank you for the donation. Can I sign your friend's laptop? Sure. I mean, once I'm allowed to, meet people. Sure. Pan Jinao says, come to China. Absolutely. We played there. I've done clinics there. It's like an emerging market. It's growing. Obviously a bit of a point of contention traveling there right now. Or I don't know, maybe it's over for you guys, who knows. But when all this craziness is over, we want to play wherever the hell we can play. So absolutely. Hope to see you there. Laughing Fish says, I'm watching this with my girlfriend Leia, but she's on the computer. If you suddenly say, hi Leia, I feel like it would freak her out, which would be hilarious. So, hi Leia. Everyone say hi Leia. I mean, I don't know if she can really... Why are you on the computer? Just watch this instead. Yeah, I'm talking to you. No, don't pretend like you don't hear me. I know that you can hear me. Yeah. You. Yeah, Leia. Yeah, you. All right, well, hopefully that worked. 4 seconds ago, how to stream soon. We'll love another electronic class like at the summer camp. That's from D. Nyers. Sure. I mean, honestly, this is kind of an experiment. I wanted to see how it goes. Seems like it's gone pretty well. If you guys like it, I'll just keep doing this stuff. Nathan, thanks for the donation. This song is one of the best pieces of music I've ever heard in my life. Oh, that's very kind of you, man. As someone who studies composition and harmony, it's mind-blowing to see what you guys managed to do without even knowing theory. You guys are geniuses. I'm thank you for your music. I mean, there's very kind words. We're definitely not geniuses. We're just having fun. To be clear on the theory thing, so this has been like kind of a point of discussion because I've had people be surprised I don't know theory, or people even accuse me of lying about it, which I don't know who would lie about not knowing something. Like, that seems very silly to do. So I don't know traditional theory. What I'd say is I have a very strong ear, so I can hear things. Theory is just a way of representing music in a way that's easy to show other people. Like, you could show them a sheet of paper, and then if they can sight read, they know how to play your song. I don't have that ability, and none of us do. So when we're learning riffs, like, we all have good ears, so like we'll just send videos, or even like Marcus just figured stuff out by ear, and then like I'm like, that is a way better way to play that than how I'm playing it. So we have our way of communicating, and it's not efficient at all, but it also works. And I don't think it would be bad for me to learn theory. I've just found it very hard for me to sort of absorb it, because it's almost like I always just cheat and use my ears anyway. So I'll learn something. You know, I have some friends who really know theory. Like Nolly knew theory, but he would never use it to write. He was always writing with his ear. And Tosin's kind of the same way. He might use theory to like solve a musical problem a little bit, but like mostly he's just writing on instinct. And but he can explain all this stuff. And when he's explained it to me, it's just been like I don't understand it, or just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. But ultimately, you just want to be able to write. So I have an understanding of music that is very hard for me to relate to other people, and I just rely on my ear. So it's not like I have nothing, but yeah, I don't know traditional theory, if that makes sense. Anyways, yeah. Thanks for the kind words. Sir Mintz, thanks for your donation. Saw us in Portland. Portland's always a fun town. Really good food around there, man. If I had to pick only one, sub 37 or mini log. That's a tough one, man. Well, I mean, they're very different price points. So the mini log will give you more at a lower price point, but man, the sub 37, it's a mono synth, so you can only play one note at a time. But it sounds huge. Okay, if you want something that's better for sort of bass and low end, and you don't care that you can't play chords on it, and you just want it to sound fantastic, and you want to learn about synthesis, spend the money and get a sub 37. Moog sub 37 is just, it's almost impossible to make that thing sound bad. The mini log is a great sounding synth. It doesn't sound big, so it's not good for low end. It's not good for like bass stuff really, or anything like that, but you could do chords, and it's got tons of features. It sounds great for that price range. I think it's like $400 or $500. And I think there's the mini log XD, which has like a better sequencer and stuff, so you could look into that. Hopefully that answers it, you know. All right, I see we have a few more donations. I'm gonna do some more music stuff. We're gonna split this up, and I appreciate it. We're gonna get to everybody. This is a fun section. Yeah, we have a lot to go over on this section. As long as you guys are still watching and enjoying. Will there be a P1 vinyl reissue? Yes. There'll always be vinyl. XFX preset. It's not even a preset. I was using an old version of Axedit until very recently. It's honestly just like the 5150 block letter, and with like a boost in front, you know. Oh man, all these questions I want to get to. How do I feel about the NHL being shut down? It sucks, dude. Sports are gone, and unlike, at least with racing, they have like the e-racing going on, which I've been watching and really enjoying. You can't really do that with other sports like NHL and all that. So, you know, what do you guys do? All right, so this was a section where we're like, all right, so this is all built up. We have this big epic section, right? And we were just kind of messing with this theme. This is just, oh, no. I know where this came from. Yes. We were trying to figure out how to... I had this riff, which was basically just this. It was called Stupid Riff. And it was just the ending part to the song, actually. And it was the staccato version. It's just like, sometimes I'll just record these dumb things and I'll just export it just in case. And I was like, that could be kind of cool. It was a little slower, so we actually had to do a really sneaky tempo change. I don't know if you guys know this, but like the tempo does change from here. There's 3 tempo changes in this song now too. It goes from 120 to 115. Right there. As you can see, 115. It's so slight, and here's like a little cool trick with a tempo change is if you don't have notes immediately, you can't really tell, because like it's like And that's like where you first start to hear some relationships between the notes where you could tell if the tempo's gone slower. So that's how you get away with like a sneaky tempo change. Cool little trick. So that stupid riff idea did have that. But it was funny because it was the other way around. It actually just started off like this. And then it was like it was like that would build into something, and we're like, what if we do that backwards? And that gave us the idea to kind of end it like this. I wrote that honestly thinking like this would be a really cool section to play live. We could just stand there, have like Jeff just do lights that match up to it. And it's one of those rare occurrences where like this vision of a riff, like in the grand context of a live show and all that, came to life exactly how I mean, honestly, even better, like when we have like either like Marquides or Ronnie doing sound for us, and we had this guy Travis doing lights who also did a great job. Like any one of those guys like at the sound and light board doing that, and us just sort of standing there like just trying to play tight. And the way it looks, like obviously I can't see it, I have to see it on video, but the way it looks and it comes off, I'm just like, man, that's exactly what I wanted for this part. So that was like very much written initially before it ever was in Reptile as like this would be cool to have in a song somewhere as like a live part, and it kind of worked with the vibe of everything here. So like we kind of flipped it backwards so it like breaks down into that part. But with that in mind, so we knew that the goal was here, and we knew that we were coming out of like an energetic section. So this is where we're like, all right, let's go kind of, I think we just smoked a lot of weed and like just started playing around with some ideas. So where is this track? Gotta find the track. Yeah, that track. So this is the theme of this section, and we knew that that was like what we eventually need to get into. So it's like, all right, well, let's make this the kind of motif of this section, and it'll build into that. We've got all sorts of like trippy things. That's more auto bit and weird sounds. Just kind of fading in. I don't even know if that's guitar or synth or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's on a guitar track, so I'm going to assume it's guitar. We've got... Oh, this is a cool instrument, actually. We've got the Prophet 6 doing chords. It's all stuff that you don't hear, but like when you take it out, like it you know, you can hear something's missing. I like these things where you just add little bits, right? This right here is a really cool instrument. So, oh, actually, it's two really cool. Oh God, I love both of these instruments so much. Okay, so this first one here, I am pretty open with the stuff that I use. I almost don't even want to tell you guys about this plugin because it is so good. It's just instant sick sounds. So this is Posthuman by Finishing Move. It's Brian Trifon and Brian Lee White. They composed. They're the ones who got me the Halo gig, actually, so I gotta thank them for that. They're like the sweetest dudes, insanely talented musicians. Brian Trifon is Triphonic, which is one of my favorite electronic artists, and they've kind of focused more on scoring lately. They did Borderlands 3, I believe, and they made this Contact instrument that's just instant vibes, right? Like, how cool is that, right? Just instantly just great sounds. Like, either people know about this plugin and it's their favorite thing, or they just haven't even heard of it. Not many people have heard of it. The other thing, and this is actually what I thought I was hearing, but it is part of it, is this Vral grid. This is from Albion 5 Tundra by Spitfire, and it's just this weird synth, and each sort of notes, depending on where you're on, you can have this grid here where you sort of choose how it develops. So if you move these things around, I don't want to mess it up, but like if you move it around, it'll have the note sort of evolve in a different way. But the cool thing about the grid is that you can have, like, you know, if you have a big chord, like you can see it's like triggering those, so they're all like evolving depending on the note that you're hitting. So this is that thing where I'm just stacking these, right? And I don't know, I just think there's nothing that really sounds like that. It's a really cool set of sounds together. I wasn't really like milking it for like the full functionality, but it's just like, and then these, like, again, mini log for like the detuned synth, like use an LFO to just like modulate the pitch, so it's just always like kind of, I like that there. So very, very synth heavy. And then here's what I'm doing here is I know the rhythm's like, so I'm hinting at it. So these are just on the hits. Dun, 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 dun. It's doing the rhythm, so it's like, you know, just foreshadowing it, right? And that is also going on the drums. So that when it comes in, it's almost like you're almost expecting to hear something with that rhythm. And it's not exactly it, but it is hinting at it in the right way, right? And this is something I like to do as well, is like you get some electronic drum elements. Oh man, I remember choosing this sound. This is a Nexus sound. Yeah, Amber, Pikes, whatever. I remember thinking that this made it sound like the Mako reactor from the original Final Fantasy VII. It was that sound, like from that song. It's kind of like that, at least. So I have very nerdy reasons for picking these things. And then here on the drum side, you'll notice, like, compared to the album version, I've kept it very simple here. And that's because Matt and I have an understanding. Like, he's got a sixth sense about this stuff anyways, but, you know, I was like, he'll hear that, he will just go to town and do his thing. He'll just do a take, he'll improvise a take, and it'll be perfect. And that's literally what he did. So there's no point in me, like, you know, going through the trouble of actually, like, trying to program all this stuff. So I kept it very simple, programming very simple on this part here for that reason. Get some glitchy stuff. What are we using here? Using Glitch Hero. That's Sound Iron. Just an easy way to get some quick glitches. So it's all these elements just slowly building into this, right? And like, you could just go straight into the heavy thing, but I was like, why don't we just like have a little fake out, you know? And this honestly makes this part hit really hard live, which I like. So when this part comes in, to some degree, I'd like to think like you already heard the melody, you already kind of know it's a complex rhythm, but you already kind of feel like that's right. Everything sort of has a purpose. And this is one of those things where I think one of my criticisms of a lot of music that I don't like is it sounds too riff salady or whatever. So I try, and you know, I'm guilty of that too. Everyone is, I think, to some degree. So I try to find ways to avoid that. So like this foreshadowing and motifs and all that, it's a good way to just make everything feel like it belongs together, and like this all belongs in the same idea and song. So that's that section there. And this is just a fun part live, man. It sounds like the open notes have been turned into rakes. You have the sort of the faster where those 16-note triplets are like one rhythm, and then you have the rakes kind of, it's like a question answer thing. I'm always a big fan of those sort of question and answer parts. Speaking of question and answer, let's answer some questions. Are we still here? You guys aren't bored of me talking? I'm amazed. When you guys create a riff, how do you figure out a picking rhythm to improve the impact of the riff? We're not really thinking that hard. It's a feel thing. Like, we'll be messing around with stuff, and it kind of either works or doesn't. And this is why it's great. This is why I love having like Mark and Jake in the room to kind of bounce ideas off of, because I could just be like yes or no, and they'll just be like nah, that's not it, or like it needs some tweaking, and then we'll like work with it. We'll chop stuff up, try to make it work. But it's an instinct. It's like when you hit it, you're just like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, like you just trust your instinct on that, you know. How did you feel playing Reptile live for the very first time? Man, I was excited. It's always kind of nerve-wracking to play a song the first time. I'll tell you why, because we practice, but it's not like playing live. Live, you have adrenaline going, you've got a crowd, you're trying to move around. It's a completely new experience, and all the practice in the world will not set you up for a live show, right? So you're experiencing it, and you're trying to figure out moves. You're like, okay, that works, that doesn't work. I'd say about a week and a half into tour, that's when everything gets internalized, and you're on autopilot, and at that point you're not playing the song, you're not thinking about playing this, you're just sort of playing the song. Now you can have fun, now you can really get into it and not be worrying about the little details, because you got it all figured out. Now it's at that point where Reptile started to be like really fun. I'd say it was always fun because I always felt it had the potential once I got around playing it in my head, if that makes sense, you know. And now it's one of my absolute favorite songs to play live, and doesn't take very long to get into the autopilot mode of that song, you know. Will Unleash the Ponies be a Periphery song? No, but it'll be on my solo album, so there you go. Gotta be working on that. Let's see. Oh, why is Jake texting me? What does Jake want? Oh god. Oh, now I regret looking at my phone. God damn it, Jake. Which riff started Reptile? That's a good question. It was actually Mark came to us with this riff. I was like, that's just sick. That is definitely very, very sick. I hold a pick like you used to. Would you say learning to hold it normally was worth doing? 100,000%. Man, that's one of those things I'm really glad, because it was a pain in the ass. I almost didn't do it. I didn't want to do it, but I was almost already hearing the results of trying it, and I was like, God, I gotta just fix it. Yes, 100,000%. I don't know how you hold it and if you are having the same limitations that I did, but I was definitely plateauing with some techniques and I couldn't adapt what people were showing me because I was just fundamentally striking the guitar differently. So yes, I'm very glad I switched. What am I using for the sub drops? I went over this a little bit earlier, but I'm using this Joey Sturgis sub drop. I don't even know where I got it. Someone must have given it to me. Maybe he gave it to me. I've used it on everything. It just works. It's great. There's a little fade in there. And I'm also using Impact 37 from this Vengeance kit. That Posthuman plugin caught my attention. How CPU intensive is it? I don't think it's very CPU intensive. It would be a dick move if you bought it because of this. No, buy it. I mean, it's a great fucking plugin. Seriously. The thing is, like, I have a pretty powerful computer, so sometimes people say they have CPU problems with things, and like I don't realize that it's CPU intensive just because it's a pretty powerful computer. Solo album, yeah, whatever. We play Satellite live. Satellite is the song I would like to play the most next. So yes, I hope so. What are your thoughts on playing to an amp rather than reamping, as every amp reacts differently to your playing? I mean, it's easier to write and to take DIs without an amp. I'd rather just deal with that after the fact. Maybe it sounds 90 or 95% as good, but in the mix, I don't know, it sounds good. I haven't had issues with it. Seems to work for me. What was the writing process like for Satellites? You know, it's interesting you asked that. If you guys are enjoying this and you want me to do it again, I could just do exactly this for Satellites on another day if you'd like. Would you guys like that? Yes. Okay, yes. Let's look on YouTube. Will we ever see Number Wang ever come into a song? It was always a favorite of your SoundClick clips. Spencer really likes that song. Looking at YouTube right now. What kind of computer do I use? I'm using an iMac Pro, the base level iMac Pro. It's a beast. You can just run all the. How do you stream your audio? Are you streaming through OBS? No, I could never get OBS to work. I'm using Wirecast. You have to pay for it, but it actually seems to work, so that's why I'm using that. Have I completed the FF7 remake? No, I'm probably about a third of the way in, but absolutely loving it. Yes for satellites. Great, great, great. All right, let's look at the questions here. I'm trying to keep up with absolutely everything since you guys are really sweet. So, the song is great. I hope to see Periphery again next SoCal show when possible. Thank you for the donation, Kevin Tran. What's the backstory of creating this song? Did you and Jake say, "Fight, let's create a long song"? Did you just keep writing and end up with the song being long? That's a very good question. And we never plan on writing a long song. I personally think long songs are kind of dumb. And I think long albums are kind of dumb. We've just failed. This is what's happened. But it was the first song that we all, Mark, Jake, and I got together. We were just itching to write. These are just these times where we're just like, God, like, oh, we need to write. We got together and like Mark had riffs and it's like, let's go. And yeah, for like 3 days, it was just like, just ideas. And I don't know, the way I like to think of it is like, sometimes you write something and you're like, all right, that said all it's need to say, you know, like Church Burner. It's like, that's a short song. It's like, yep, we got it. I don't really think that song needed a whole lot more. And sometimes you get songs like Satellites where it's like, yeah, okay, 4 minutes, you know, and it's kind of chill and it has a heavy ending. It had just like that one heavy ending riff. And I was like, I feel like this song isn't quite done yet. Like we need to work on this some more. You know, it's just an instinct. And with this one, we were just, all three of us, we were like, no, like, let's just keep adding to it and seeing what happens. It's not about reaching a minute length or making it long. It was just like, let's just see what happens. We were just so ready to write. And then before we knew it, I think like before it was trimmed down, it was closer to 16 minutes. And we're like, what have we done? This is not ideal. So it just happens, unfortunately. We don't try to write long songs. That's why we don't always have, I don't think Periphery 3 had a super long song. Because the goal is never to try to write a long song. I couldn't tell you if the next album will have a long song. It's never one of our criteria. The criteria is just, we just want to feel good about what we're writing. So if we feel like we should keep going, and then when we add to it, it's adding to it, and it's sounding better for it, and it's like, this is a complete coherent idea, then why not just see where it goes, you know? Thanks for that question. Frozen Solid, thanks for a donation. Want to say thank you to you and the rest of Periphery. Watching your tutorials, how you guys mix genres, has helped me push my composition and mix it. That's awesome, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just doing what I've always been doing. It's just kind of a nerd with this kind of stuff. Really stoked I can make music on my own and not rely on others. And that's why I started out. You guys are so lucky who are getting into it now because there's so many resources and computers are powerful and there's all these tools at your disposal. Like, literally just have fun with it, man. That's what you got to do. So that's great. What came first, Garden or Reptile? The part where they link is so cool. So Reptile came first. It's the first thing that we wrote for Periphery 4. Lyrically, demo-wise though, we did actually. That's a lie. Actually, we did have a demo that I'd done with Jake. I think we called it False Detective because it was in 7 or it was in whatever weird timing, and Matt at that point in time didn't really like playing in 7, and we're like, how do we get him to like it? And he was obsessed with True Detective, so we called it False Detective. We're very, very dumb. I never pretended to be smart, but we had a demo that was sitting around. I feel like we wrote that before even Periphery 3, but we didn't finish that up and integrate it into Periphery 4 until after Reptile was written, at least instrumentally, maybe not more. But the part where they link, I think, was written because Jake had written a similar riff. I forget exactly what happened, but we like to, sometimes when you can link these songs, it's just really sick. It's just kind of how it works out. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. Have I started? Oh, Serge donated and said, have you started building a modular synth? Yeah, I'm going to need way more donations from you. I saw Arturia Mini Brute on your Instagram. So I have these like semi-modular things here. I've got like the Mother 32 and this Arturia Mini Brute. I really want to get into modular stuff. I'm terrified. Anyone here messing with modular stuff, by the way? Should I? I feel like people who mess with modular will probably tell me not to do it. Like, it's just like, oh God. It's, for you guys who don't know, it's like basically like if pedal boards were on crack, like you'll have like this, and it'll make like one sound and you have to patch it and you'll probably spend like 25 grand building it. And it's the coolest thing ever, and I'm terrified. Oh, Jake sent me another text. Watch it on this. I can't watch this. I'm trying to keep this wholesome. Fine. Okay. Okay. I'm going to play this because Jake's making me. But just remember that this is Jake. This is not me. And let's just pretend that he has something on me so that I have to do this. But this is what Jake... Ugh. And that pretty much describes my relationship with Jake Bowen in a nutshell. You know, maybe we just call this stream off. No, I'm just messing with you. Anyway, it's a horrible thing. Thank you, Jake. Thank you very much. Let's see. So yeah, we were talking about modular synths. I could feel the darkness pulling me in. I think before long I probably will mess with that because they fascinate me so much. It all started with a sub 37. It was my gateway drug, so watch out, guys. Let's see. Monica Michelle donated. Thank you so much. Thanks a ton for doing this. You guys are the best. Honestly, love all your music since P1. Icarus lives. All right, look at that. Steve Holt. Look, we appreciate you OG fans. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, like, it felt like back then, like, nobody liked us. You have to understand, like, when we were starting out, when we were doing this band, like, it was not cool. Like, we were not the cool band on tour. The only people that really liked us were, like, the other bands. They'd watch us, like, maybe out of pity. I don't know. I mean, I guess we weren't, like, really good live either. But, like, man, like, it just felt like that was going to be reality. And you know what? That was fine. We were still having a blast. I was so stoked to be on stage and, like, playing for people who looked really bummed. Like, we had a few funny experiences back then. So it's great to see that there are people who were actually enjoying us back then, because a lot of times back then it really didn't feel like it, you know? Now it's obviously very different. We're very, very fortunate. Definitely don't deserve any of that, but, you know, I'll take it, man. As long as it lasts, I'll enjoy the ride. Montrix donated. Thank you very much. Hey, man, you guys are fucking legends, and your Lambo is gorgeous. Thanks, man. Looking to get into recording guitar and trying out some amp sims. What do I think of the Scarlett 2i2? I mean, that's a great entry-level interface. I think people, like, freak out a lot over converters and whatever, and, like, I don't know, I just haven't cared that much about that. Maybe I should, but I don't do that much mixing work, really. Like, it's more writing. It's a great tool. It's USB powered. I use that on the road when I'm writing and recording. So it's definitely very capable. I'd say, like, probably having a powerful computer will take you a lot further. And honestly, the amp sims are so good these days. Like, you can, and if you use that, and, like, you know, I think our GGD drums sound fantastic, and our Zilla cab will make, like, even not great amp sims, like your stock amp sims in your DAW sound good. So, like, I think we put out some good products, and, like, Ermin has that bass, the submission bass. Like, you can really get a lot done with, like, just a guitar and an interface and a computer, and just the stock plugins. So yeah, I'd say definitely pick that up if you're on a budget, especially. Culex Knight donated. I think that's how you say it now. I apologize if I'm butchering this. Hi Misha, fan of your openness about recording since 7-string forum days. Hell yeah, 7-string brother. How do you go about making soundscapes? Any dirty tricks? What about before you got synths to play with in the early days? So I used to do soundscapey stuff by just throwing delay and reverb on Axe-Fx. Axe-Fx has a lot of really cool tools. There's some plugins like I mean, you have to buy these, but if you don't have the Valhalla stuff, like, God, you're missing out. Like, Vintage Verb sounds great. Shimmer is like, God, this thing gets abused so much. So I absolutely love the Valhalla stuff. If you can afford it, it's really not expensive. I feel like they're $50 a plugin. You really have no excuse not to have those. I abuse Eventide Black Hole. Just a great sounding reverb, especially for ambient stuff. Mangled Verb is also really, really cool. Which does exactly, it's like this distorted reverb if you want something kind of like unsettling. A huge fan of Echo Boy. Echo Boy and Echo Boy Jr. If Echo Boy is a little too intense, I think Echo Boy Jr. This is Sound Toys. Again, another suite of stuff that I really abuse. They have Decapitator and all that for like saturation, but like this is just a great delay echo processor. Really big fan. So you throw those on anything and you'll be in ambient land. For you know, for like synths and stuff like that, Omnisphere again. You guys remember, like, Omnisphere is just a great tool. It's probably the first sort of software sample library or synth that you should buy because it just has so much stuff. And the dirty little secret is Posthuman on everything. God, Posthuman is so good. By Finishing Move. Love those dudes. Brian Trifon and Brian White. Best dudes, best just musical geniuses, and they also make sick plugins. Go figure, right? Just good dudes. The Lone Fern, thanks for your donation. Is there any chance of getting a stream like this about Absalom? And will you ever play it live? It's my absolute favorite song of yours. Thanks so much for what you guys do to help me in rough times. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you think it's weird to play Absalom live? We've been kind of debating this because obviously, like, we don't have live bass and we like our setup and it sounds good and it works well. But that song starts with bass. Is that weird for us to like, is it like, what do we do? Like, just stand there while the bass goes? Also, I will be entirely honest. There's one other reason why we don't play that one live. It's because that solo is going to destroy me. I hate playing solos. I'm going to have like the worst anxiety. And there's going to be people in front like filming it, like watching every mistake, and people will be like, oh, he sucks, you know, and then I'll have to kill myself. So because I want a nice long life, I don't know if I can play Absalom live. Maybe. Would it be weird? Play it live? Do we not use backing tracks? We do, but like the bass would be coming on at the intro of the song with literally nothing else. I don't know if that's weird. Jake will play it. All right, Jake will play it. Jake, you want to play that solo? How about we get Jake to play the solo? All right, I'll make you guys a deal. If Jake plays the solo and plays the intro part live, we'll play Absalom every night. Yeah, put an octave on your guitar. I'm not playing that fucking solo. I don't know. Jake's down. Right? Okay, well, I'll put it this way. If we don't do it, it's Jake's fault because he didn't want to play the solo. So, you know, that's who you direct your anger at. Just saying. All right? Or I'll play bass for that song, meaning I can't play the solo. That is a great idea. I would do that. I'd play bass first. Oh, hell yeah, I'd play bass, especially for that song. That'd be sick. Come on, Jakey. Jakey, come on, Jakey. Any suggestions on free Sims? Is the LePoo stuff free? I feel like that is. I think it is. I've tested it with the Zilla stuff, and man, that sounds good. So if that's free, that's a great way. Get that and get Zilla. GGD Zilla. You'll be very happy. Who ended up tracking this solo? I mean, it's my solo. I just don't hate... I always run into this problem because I don't like playing solos. I don't particularly like writing solos. I don't consider myself a technical guitarist or a good lead player, and I'm not consistent. So every time I play a solo, I just have like this like existential crisis, and I hate it. I probably shouldn't admit this, but it's one of the contributing reasons to why like we don't play Garden in the Bones. It was that song was like getting a meh reaction in my opinion, but like also the solo used to stress me out so much, and it's like an easy solo, but I don't know, it just used to stress me out. And then meanwhile, Blood Eagle is really easy. I thought it was gonna be the other way around, but I never stress out about Blood Eagle. And I had fun playing that solo, and I hated playing Garden in the Bones. I'm just afraid, like, Absalom's gonna be one of those ones where I'm gonna, like, be dreading every set, because I'm like, oh, until it's over, I can't have a good set, and then once it's over, I can have a good time. Oh, whatever. Anyways, let's see. We got a few more here. Sierra J, here's a little more of my stimulus check. You're my favorite. Oh, don't give me your stimulus check. Use it, you know, use it on the economy or something, right? Buy some stocks. But thank you, Sierra J. Wood Music Channel, thanks for the donation. Just want to say thank you. I hadn't played guitar in years till I saw your Blood Eagle playthrough. Literally went and brought my first 7-string just to learn it. That's awesome, man. More people should have 7 strings. Since then, I've become re-obsessed with recording, composing, etc. Thanks. That's awesome. That's great, man. I love it. That really makes me very happy to hear that. If I can help anyone get into this kind of stuff. There's 2 things I want people to get into because of me. It's recording and writing and sim racing. Go play ACC. I will get iRacing one day, but I don't know. I feel like ACC has a great lobby. I love how no one's asked me about this, and I'm gonna rant about it. But fuck it, I could do it. Assetto Corsa Competizione is like, it's got a good lobby, good rating system. Charles Leclerc, Ferrari F1 driver, started streaming that on Twitch. I mean, how sick is that? And it's a great game. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. You get online lobbies, and you buy it, and then you can play it. You don't need a subscription. You don't need to really pay for the cars and the tracks. Play that with me. Have I checked out VCV Rack? Samuel B. Emmett, thanks for the donation. Yes, that's awesome. It's great. I wish I could integrate it into my DAW better because it's a standalone thing. But for those of you who are curious about modular stuff, VCV Rack is like this thing that you can download that just runs standalone. And I guess companies or people have made virtual modules of actual modules. So people like kind of use it as a way to like to shop around because these modules are very expensive. They're like $300 to $500 a piece sometimes, and you can put together a virtual rack, and it sounds pretty close. It's like kind of like an Axe FX, like a virtual Axe FX or software sim version of an amp. It's like that for modular, and that stuff's so complicated that it's a great jumping off point. I have played around with it. Again, I need to watch more tutorials. I wish someone, I should go to Matt Lang's house because he's the modular guy. He could probably teach me everything I need to know, and he's got a pretty nuts system. But yeah, thanks for a donation. Blood Machines, thanks for a donation. How would you compare Horizon strings to NYXL? Thanks for Sick Music. So that's a good question. I used to use NYXL. Still a big fan of the Dario stuff. So what I'd say is when we were designing the strings, we were going for something a little bit different. The NYXLs are very durable. And they're consistent, especially from pack to pack, and they're like a very good volume play. I find they are a little like bright and a little thin sounding because of that. And what we tried to do is we tried to get the formula to where we could, we worked with Dunlop for this, and they're more of a bespoke operation. So we got to be picky about like, the kind of tone we want. We sort of let them figure out the wrap and core ratio and all that for the sound that we wanted. But I was like, let's get something that's not quite like as shrill bright, and let's see how much low end we can get out of it. So I think they sound a lot fuller. Also, they were able to get the whine to where it actually feels a little bit better. So the strings have more bend while still maintaining the right tension. It's hard to explain, but like if you kind of compare them back to back, you'll see what kind of easier on your fingers. I just think they sound absolutely fantastic. They're very consistent from set to set. And then we also have our gauges, which we've sort of curated for this progressive tension. It's in between sort of scientific tension across the board, which doesn't feel good, and sort of more traditional stuff. It's a bit of science, a bit of art, but like as I said, Brian and I really obsessed over the gauges to get them quite right, and both in the studio and live, trying to get the right feel for them, and now I can't imagine using anything else. So really big fan of those, and I think they actively sound really good. So hopefully you guys can try it out for yourself, and you feel the same way. Guitar Sick, thanks for the it's a crazy donation, dude. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this. Very inspirational to other composers. Keep it up. Wow, that's very generous of you, man. I really appreciate that. Let's get some questions on Twitch. Is there anything else you guys want me to show you in this project? I feel like I've been like ranting and talking for a very long time, and you probably have other things to do. But I'll answer a few more things and show you whatever you want in this project if you want. Ever gonna build a track car? Join us. I'm building technically an RX-8 with my buddy right now, but he's in Utah and we can't hang out. So, we'll see. I was thinking about maybe selling that and getting either like an E46 or like I have another buddy here who I drive with who has an S2000 and he wants to do an S2000 build. That would be great. What wheel do I use for sim racing? I used to use a Thrustmaster TGT, but I upgraded to the Fanatec Podium because I'm so obsessed with it. Might as well, go big. Fanatec Podium DD1 with the PS4 because that's the only one that's compatible with the PS4. Fun thing to note if you're shopping for a Podium. Love that wheel. Such a good wheel. Oh my god. Outro synths. We're getting some requests for outro synths. Okay. Is that in this project? That might actually be a different project. Yeah, I don't think that's... I think that's something I wrote way after the fact. Let me see if I've even got it in here. Yeah, no, it's it might be in the interludes. Yeah, you can see some of the working titles there. They're pretty bad. But yeah, that's not in this. I could find it. I could do one thing on the interludes. I have to arrange it. The one thing is that like I've rearranged a few things, so sometimes you'll see this is called Spencer arrangement 1 working, because when I tried to open it, it couldn't find half the library, so I had to reassign it. So if I open up another project, I'd be spending like 10 minutes just pointing it to where everything is, and that wouldn't be very fun to watch. So where's the Flux Echo? I've answered that already. It's coming soon. We've had delays because the world is the way that it is. I'm sure you guys are feeling delays on just about everything. It's the same thing for us. Favorite concert memory? There's a bunch. Man, playing in LA was pretty special. That was an insane crowd. I think that was the biggest crowd we headlined to in the States. And London was nuts. And so was Manchester. London, I think, is the biggest crowd we've ever headlined to date. That was pretty crazy. Those big shows, we have very dedicated fans, and like the crowd is like louder than the band. Sometimes it's just really special moments. You know, what do I think of Frederick's Studio 33? Have you guys seen Frederick Thorndahl from Meshuggah's studio? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, and the pictures are all sick. It's like if someone went in my head and designed the perfect studio for me. Oh, love it. What a dude. Any chance of releasing a new signature plugin or Axe-Fx preset soon? Regarding the Friedman, is that why you went with the Omega and Dover amps instead of the Butter Slacks? Okay, so there's a few things there. New signature plugin, we'll see. Axe-Fx presets are tough. I put out a bunch of Axe-Fx presets, and then they updated, and then they stopped working. Maybe I'll do some more. And put them up on Axe Edit or whatever. I just updated my Axe-Fx 3 because people were making fun of me for being on version 1.18 since like up till 2 days ago. So like, but that's the version I use for P4 and all this stuff. So I guess it's good enough for that. Regarding the Friedman, is that why I went with Omega and Dover amps? I mean, I was talking about the model on there. I have a Butter Slacks. It's a sick amp, but it's not entirely my flavor. I might be selling a Butter Slacks. And the Omega and Dover kind of doing that sound like the way I'd like it to be done. Talk about your yellow Lamborghini Huracan. I love it. I don't know if people want to hear about that right now. This is more music stuff. As much as I love cars. Am I playing F1 2019 or iRacing? I'm not playing iRacing. I play a little bit of F1 2019, but just more for fun. I don't play that like competitively or anything. Let's see. A whole bunch of things here. Oh, when am I going on the Smoking Tire podcast? So that's kind of interesting. So Smoking Tire, Matt Farah, who I'm a big fan of and I've driven with a few times. He's a really nice guy. He did invite me to go on his podcast, and then this coronavirus thing happened, and he was like, hey, we could just do it over Skype. And I was like, well, why don't we just wait a couple weeks and see like what happens? Because maybe I'd rather do it in person. I always feel like there's more of a vibe in person. And now it's looking like that probably won't happen anytime soon. So I'll probably hit him up and be like, all right, let's just do it over Skype or Zoom or whatever people are using nowadays. Let's see. Just got your signature guitar in the mail today. Love it. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for the support, dude. Is there anything that you guys want to see on this project? This big-ass fucking crazy project here? Or are we pretty much good? Let's see. Oh, that was you making fun of the vintage firmware. Did I check out any of the new amp models and features? No, I don't even know what they are. I just kind of set and forget it with do I recommend mixing multiple GGD drum libraries, or is that overkill? No. Actually, my latest sort of template, I'm using P4 and I'm reinforcing with Modern and Massive, reinforcing the kick and the snare. You can mix as much as you want. I've even thought about trying to bring in Invasion cymbals because it's got a smorgasbord of cymbals. I don't know if that means I'd even switch the shells just to have the room sound or what, but like, yeah, you can mix it. That's a good thing with Contact. It's very easy to layer stuff as you'd like. I'd just say, if you're doing that, just make sure to like deactivate the pieces of the kit that are redundant so that you save some memory, Tuner cars or supercars? supercars every time. Sorry, Fast and Furious fans, but supercars were what made me fall in love with cars. What amps am I using these days? Any chance of a hand-wired new flagship amp? I mean, like, when it comes to amps I like to jam on, I'm so proud of the Invective. Like, that, for the sort of 5150 sound, that is the ultimate amp. For the sort of Marshall British sound, that Dover is really doing it for me. And the Park, I don't know if you guys can see. No, you can't really see it. There's a Park amp underneath it, which is much less high gain, but that thing, especially if I'm plugging something that's in like standard, and I don't need as much gain, that thing is a beast. Okay, how about going over how you recommend panning separate guitars in your tracks? That's actually a pretty good question here. So you'll see I have my setup here: guitar left, guitar right, guitar L2 right. So these are my mono tracks. Unfortunately, every DAW has its downsides. Cubase has done a pretty good job with kind of fixing most of their stuff, but they do make it so you can't really switch a track from mono to stereo like you can in most other DAWs. So I have my set of mono tracks here just to save space when recording. Now, generally, I'm just hard panning left and right. You can see left, right, left, right. These ones I'll hard pan. I might bring them down, their layers, counterpoint, stuff like that. And then I've got my set of like stereo tracks here. This is where, you know, this one centered is directly in the center. The left one, okay, that looks like it's hard panned. Then I think these ones, you know, that one's 79, so these aren't panned quite as hard. And then sometimes also throw, like with stereo tracks, sometimes throwing it off, like just slightly to the side can be useful. Just create space or just make it not quite as sterile, you know. So you can play around with that stuff. You can automate that stuff if you want, the panning or whatever. But generally I keep it pretty simple. Like hard pan the rhythm guitars left and right, you know. I know some people take the layer tracks and bring them in a little bit. I've always just found that hard panning them creates the most space for everything, if that makes sense. Let's see. Horizon string wind is much tighter than NYXL. It's probably why it feels a little smoother. Eliminated the scratchy sound from NYXL, especially on 64. Can't use anything else. Bass string students. Bass strings are a completely different realm, which I just don't feel I'm that much of an expert. If we got someone to consult with who could help us do it, maybe down the line. But for now, we're going to just sort of focus on the things that I feel like I can add something to. But yeah, I mean, like that scratchy sound, I think from the NYXL is like the top end. It's one of those things where like the top end almost sounds like it's great, and then you realize there's such a thing as like too much top end. So having a bit more balance and trading that for like a much fuller low end, in my opinion, like that's more the direction I'd like. Do the songs necessarily have 3 guitars? No, sometimes we're just doing left and right, and like live will just mirror it, you know. Just because we have 3 guitars doesn't mean that we have to use it or figure out a way to use it at all times. It's always serving the song, you know. Play around with the gain enhancer and speaker impedance curves on the new Axe-Fx firmware. They're game changers. All right, well, thanks for the tip, man. I appreciate it. Why didn't I reamp with real amps for the album? That's a good question, Metal Shred. So, the Axe-Fx does something which I call hyper-real. Their version of the 5150 is almost like a version of the amp that doesn't have any imperfections. And for Periphery, that's always been kind of the sounds like this hyper-real sound. It's been based around this sort of modeled sound. So I wouldn't say we go for realism. I'd say something like the Helix actually does a very good job of sounding like a real 5150, but that's kind of why I don't use it, because if I want the warts, I'll just use the real amp. You know, I have the real amp, and I have an Invective, which is kind of like an enhanced version of that. But like, it's easy to use the Axe-Fx. It's very painless. There's very little setup. I probably will play around with amps, you know, at some point. Maybe on this next one, maybe we'll go for something a little bit more raw. But I felt like I just wanted it to be a bit more controlled. Even the messiness is more controlled on the Axe-Fx. And by contrast, when I did Haunted Shores, some of those tracks, not only did I use real amps, but I used different amps on different sides. You know, I wanted it to be kind of uneven and out of control there. So it just depends on the context. But, you know, it's a good question. And I think because the Invective is kind of this bridge between, like, you know, a really sort of raw sounding amp and the Axe-Fx, that could be an interesting thing to try in the future, you know? Oh, it's a good question. Are crazy guitars like Black Machines and Mayonnaise still worth it now that production metal guitars are so good? That's a really interesting question with a tough answer. I actually sold my Black Machine. I'd say, I mean, that guitar is fantastic, but I've played a lot of Black Machines, and you know, even in designing my guitar, I was given a lot of custom guitars, like from the custom shop, as prototypes and whatever, and I still get them, you know. And I'll tell you, man, custom guitars, when they are great, are like the best thing ever, but they're also not the best thing ever sometimes. It's real luck of the draw. Consistently, my production models perform better live. Like all my live guitars, except for my master built Strat, which I played, which that thing is an example of like a custom shop guitar being just the best. But by and large, my production model guitars, which are literally slated to just go to a store, like there's nothing special about them. Those things are the most incredible live workhorses. And it's because they're built just consistently and to this standard, and like they're just, I find, and I think Mark and Jacob found the exact same things with their guitars. There's something about production models that just gives you this consistent thing. They may not be like a 10 out of 10, but like there'll be a 9 out of 10, which is still amazing. And a custom guitar could be a 10 out of 10, but it could also be a 5 out of 10, you know? And it's like, it's a bit of a gamble. It's a bit of a gamble. So if you were to get a Black Machine, I played some Black Machines. I was like, you know, I'm not crazy about this, to be honest, you know? The one I had was amazing. So to do like a sight unseen buy on one of those, it's kind of tough, man. And that's kind of the reality of custom instruments. Not a lot of people want to talk about that, you know, and I understand why. And I would never dog custom instruments, because I have a bunch and I love them, but it is a bit of a gamble, and they're all handmade, you know. There's just so many variables that come into it. So yeah, there you go. Any reason why you never got into Universal Audio, given all the plugins that you use? So I've actually thought about playing around with that stuff. I might try that stuff out. I just hate how it locks you into their system, and the plugins are expensive, but I do like how it takes the load off your CPU if you're using this stuff. So I'll play around with it. Do you guys play around with it? Anyone like that stuff? Let's see. What else do we got here? Thoughts on multi-scale guitars. I know you guys don't really use them. It's because it's so tough to get them right. They're very personal. If you think about it, you're adding an extra variable. So normally you just have your scale length, your tuning, and you know the string gauges that you want to use. When you have multi-scale, now you're sort of adding in the two scales plus where your neutral point, your neutral fret's going to be, and like that affects the bridge angle and how sharp it'll be at the nut, you know, for chords. And to find that perfect balance is tough. I'd say that Tosin has done a great job with his guitars of like, but I think it's because he plays them. It's a very good sense of how to make them very playable. If I could, in fact, the only multi-scale guitar I have is Tosin's 7 that I bought, because that is a really good example of it being done right. But it's that's the exception rather than the rule. If ever I could sort of get that going for myself and feel genuinely good about it, maybe I would do that for myself, you know? Let's see. So, V9BE donated. Thank you very much. Do you split the chords between the quad tracks for the chugging sections of the song? So, I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking. I have heard people have like talking about splitting chords. So rather than like playing the power chord or whatever, you'll play different notes of the chords on different tracks, and it'll make it sound more pure and clean. I don't always love the way that sounds, because I want the distortion to sort of make these notes interact. You get these harmonics out of them interacting a certain way. And the main reason people do it is because sometimes you have these complex chords and they are a pain to tune, but this is where Evertune will save your ass. And sometimes we'll actually record just that chord, you know, and retune. You know, if it's not intonated right or whatever. We've definitely gone that far. And especially if you're doing like 4 chords and you want everyone to be perfect, you tune each chord, make sure it's in, play it. All right, stop, retune. Recording's a pain in the ass, but that's how you get the results. And you get the benefit of it sort of interacting with the distortion the way you want. Now, I'll have octaves sometimes over the top to add to the chord, if that makes sense, but that is supposed to be its own part. It's not really splitting the chord up. I hope that makes sense. Kawanaushi 509, man, that's a crazy donation. Thank you so much, man. Wow, you guys are nuts. You guys are so nice. You really, you don't need to do that. I will answer your questions in and out of donations, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you. It says, thanks for being an all-around good dude. Stay safe. P.S. Bring us some Hail Stand tabs, please. They are, I think, almost done. We are literally just trying to figure out. They will be out very soon. We're very slow. So a lot of bands write in Guitar Pro, and then you can literally just put that out. None of us are good at tabbing. I'm not even good at reading tabs. So that's why we are very, very slow. I'm so sorry about that to all you guitarists out there. I know we're really, really, really slow with tabs, and that like other bands, like they have them before the album's even out. And it just takes forever. It just takes forever. And, you know, the guys at Cheat Happens put it together, and we're so slow getting back to it because I can't even read tabs that quickly. It's just, I'm really sorry about that. But they will be out very soon. I do promise. The Junior Carlos donated. Hey, mate. Hey, Misha. Huge fan since 2010. I had a lot of fun watching you guys in Brazil. Would you check a little clip I did using Mario Massive? Here's if you want the link. I'll click on that. I mean, I'm on a different computer. No one else will be able to see it anyways, but I can definitely check that out after this is done. Why am I getting more messages from Jake? Oh, he says I have my undying respect. There we go. Well, all right, Jake. Thank you very much. I'm glad. I did troll Jake's stream pretty bad, so I probably deserve it. Anyways, guys, look, I think we covered just about everything. I'd love to do more of this with you guys in the future. We've been going for, it looks like almost 2.5 hours. So thank you so much for putting up with me and for all your questions. And I hope that you guys picked up a few things, a few cool little techniques, you know, like these are like kind of showcases of how we approach songwriting basically, and sort of the mentality with which that we're approaching each section, and the logic behind why the song would flow the way that it does. And I think that stuff's really important. I see a lot of people asking or saying that, you know, they're inspired to write and whatever. These are the things I really hope that you sort of take home with you and apply for yourself, because I think some of my favorite music definitely has that as a sort of focus, is when the focus is less about like how cool can I make this riff and how technical can I make this section. That's more secondary, and the main focus is how do I create this little world for this song to exist in, and what really makes sense, taking a genuine step back. And one of the things that we did with Periphery 4, which was really helpful, is we took a lot of time. We took a year, and the reason that we did it wasn't that we were writing for a year, but we could take time away from this song and come back like a month later and be like, how do we feel about it? You know, songs like It's Only Smiles, man, that song was so close to like being my least favorite song on the album, because we just couldn't get the arrangement quite right. It just wasn't there, and we just kept at it. And then like finally, like we got it, and we changed it pretty substantially, and then it became one of my favorites. So that's the power of being able to take a step back and really look at the song honestly, not like right after you've written it and it's sacred and it's the thing you love the most because it's the most recent. So all these little tips and tricks are things I hope you guys can take home and maybe help with your writing blocks or just writing in general, you know? And if you want me to go over any of the P4 songs or P3 songs or demos, or if you ever want me to try to write stuff on live stream and share that with you, you know, let me know and maybe I'll consider it. Really nervous about that last one because it's like so self-conscious when I'm writing, and I think you guys will realize like how crappy I am at music. But you know, maybe it's best to rip off that band-aid sooner than later. Real quick before I leave, Saruko27 donated. Thank you very much. Hi. He says, hi, Misha. I say, hi, Saruko27. And Wood Music Channel, thanks for the donation. They say, make a group Discord channel like Ola England's. Do it. Video chats, game chats, card chats. Paid members, do it. I'll look into doing a Discord. It's starting to be a lot of stuff to manage. I'm going to start with the Twitch stuff for now, and we'll kind of go from there. This was a fun experiment to try with you guys, and I really appreciate your patience and dealing with me as I sort of get the hang of this. But I hope it was enjoyable. You guys have a good night or morning or whatever, wherever time is, and I'll see you guys soon enough, all right?